Alright, in this particular video, what we'll be doing is we're doing the skill of assertion or study all sources depending on what your school actually calls it. So when you look at the study all sources question, generally you are supposed to use all or at least most of the sources to answer a big question. Okay, answer a bigger question. Alright, or you have to answer the issue question. Alright, depending on the subject. So usually for social studies, they will ask you to answer a bigger question. For history, it is usually the issue question that they will ask. Now, so in this case here, for study all sources, actually they're looking at the skill mostly of inference and explanation. Alright, inference and explanation. Okay, and therefore you need to use the explanation of the source. So the source could say, for example, you may have a certain inference that you make from the source. But the thing is that what you need to do for study all sources is to ensure that when you explain, the source has to be linked to the question that is being asked of you. Okay, now in this case here, right, the explanation, what do I mean is that the explanation will have to change, will have to be changed according to the question. The question demand. Okay, so the explanation would have to address the question that's being asked, right? And the answer should be in line with this particular question too. Now let's take a look at some examples here. Okay, so this is question, this source A, source B. Let's take a look at source A here. Now, if I were to look at source A just by looking at the idea of them, the idea of getting an inference out of this source. Okay, what can you learn from the source about going to school? So we can see here, learn all sorts of cool stuff. This, you basically hang out with your friends, work together on projects. All right, help you choose what you want to be when you grow up. So you can say that, okay, what can you learn from the source about going to school? So I can say going to school is interesting. Okay, or I can say that going to school is something that will help develop a child, right? So these are, so basically going to school is interesting based on these points here. Going to school can help to develop a child. This is based on these points here, right? So this is the evidence of this one here. This is the evidence for this one here. Now, if I were to change the question a little bit, now this is about going to school. Now, if I were to ask a question in a different way, education benefits children. How far do all the sources agree with this statement? Now, if we take a look here, it is not about what can you learn about going to school. It's not about the school is interesting. But now we have to talk about the idea that education benefits children. So in this case here, right, we need to address, yes, it benefits, or no, it does not benefit. And there must be an explanation behind it. If it benefits, why does it benefit? If it does not benefit, why does it not benefit? So let's go back to source A again. Rather than to say that school is interesting, right? Now, why, in this case here, education, why does it benefit children? So if we look at source A, it's very clear. Yes, it benefits, right? Education benefits a child. Okay, so in this case here, right, if we take a look at all this here, learn all sorts of cool stuff, hang with your friends, work together, hang out with your friends, work together on projects, maybe even join a sports team or cool club. So in this case here, what I would actually recommend is that, for example, education benefits a child. Okay, education benefits children. All right, it benefits children, and the explanation for this will be, okay, because it helps to develop their social skills or develop important skills. All right, important skills that would help them, okay, in the future. So if I were to build up social skills, it helps them with making friends in the future, or allow them to actually learn skills of working with others even into their adulthood. I can also say the skills can actually help to choose what you want to be when you grow up as well. So in this case here, education benefits the child. Why? Because it actually helps to develop important skills that will help them in the future. So if you realize, right, these two angles are very different. I can ask about going to school. Going to school, say, why? What can you learn about going to school? I can infer that going to school is interesting. Now, in this case here, right, it doesn't necessarily mean that going to school is interesting, means that it benefits, that education benefits the child. So if I were to ask the question about education benefiting the child, it has to be from a different angle. The answer has to be from a different angle. Now, in this case here, we have actually brought out the different angle, which is this, that it actually helps to develop important skills that will help them in the future. So this is actually how we do it. Yes, it benefits the explanation here. Of course, there is also another side of it that it does not benefit. So from this particular source, it's very obvious that no, it does not benefit. Okay. Now when you look at this source, right, you see, subject may be tricky, a lot of homework. Okay, disagreement with friends. Okay, hard to sit still for a long time. You rather be outside playing. Alright, so does education benefit the child here? No, it does not benefit the child. Okay, the children. Right, in this case, okay, there are many things we can look at. A lot of homework, subject may be tricky, disagreement with friends, hard to sit still. Okay, because there are a lot of things that children may find harmful to their lives. So for example, if I actually do homework, okay, it's harmful because it takes away my time. If I have disagreement with friends, it's harmful to me because it actually makes me feel upset. Okay, it's very difficult for me to sit still, so it harms me in that sense. So of course, harmful is a bit of a strong word here. Alright, I mean, we are after all looking at an example. So if you can find another word that actually can encompass this particular source, harmful, if we talk about it actually provides the child with a lot of trouble. Okay, it gives the child a lot of trouble, that's also fine. So ultimately, the point here is that it needs to address this particular big point. So in terms of assertion or study all sources, remember, you may have been asked a question about a particular source, maybe in the earlier part of the source-based question. But the thing is that once you hit this study all sources question, you have to look at all the sources from this one angle that they're asking you. And in this case, you're asking, does education benefit the child?